Veil of Flesh, the Kudzu Conspiracy. What the hell is that? The pilot's voice crackled over the radio, breaking the quiet hum of the helicopter's cabin. Through the windshield, a crimson blob grew larger on the horizon, an unmistakable stain against the once verdant landscape. The copter's crew, seasoned veterans of the most bizarre missions the military had to offer, had never seen anything quite like it. Looks like someone threw a giant meatball at the countryside, the co-pilot quipped, trying to ease the tension. The mission commander, a stern woman named Captain Castillo, didn't laugh. She'd studied the satellite images back at the base, but seeing the alien mass in person was something else entirely. It was alive, it was moving, and it was unlike anything they had ever encountered. As they descended, the crimson vines grew clearer, stretching in all directions like a gory spiderweb. They saw the remnants of what was once a quaint rural town, now nothing more than a few steel skeletons of buildings poking out from the bloody foliage. The vines quivered with an eerie anticipation, as if aware of their presence. The team's biologist, Dr. Kravich, leaned in, her eyes wide. She murmured, almost to herself, "Beautiful?" Castillo shot her a look. "It's a damn monster." The helicopter touched down in a clearing that had been hastily bulldozed, the whir of the blades sending leaves and dirt flying. The team of 8, armed with flamethrowers and combat gear, filed out quickly. Castillo's boots squelched in the moist earth as she took in the surroundings. The smell of decay was thick in the air, overpowering the natural scent of the forest. "Spread out," she ordered, her voice firm. "We burn everything that moves." The team fanned out, their hearts pounding in unison. The vines grew denser as they approached the crash site. Dr. Kravich paused, her gaze lingering on a twisted mass that might have been a cow. "It's not just consuming," she whispered, "it's assimilating." A sudden scream from their left. Castillo whipped around to see Private Taylor caught in the vines, his body being swallowed whole. She didn't hesitate, rushing over and setting the alien growth alight with her flamethrower. Taylor's agonized cries were silenced as the vines retreated, leaving nothing but a smoking pile of clothes and gear. The team looked at one another, the gravity of their situation setting in. This wasn't just about burning a few plants, this was about survival, and if they didn't figure out how to stop it, the Kudzu from hell would devour everything in its path. Castillo took a deep breath, her eyes scanning the horizon. "All right, let's move in closer to the source," she said, her voice steady despite the horror they just witnessed. "We need to find the core of this thing." They marched forward, the crackling of the flamethrowers echoing through the desolate landscape. The heat was intense, but it was the only thing keeping the vines at bay. Each step brought them closer to the heart of the organism, and with it, a growing sense of dread. The air was alive with the whispers of a million tiny movements as the Kudzu grew more agitated. As they reached the edge of the town, the vines grew thicker, wrapping around buildings and trees. Like a grotesque embrace, Castillo gestured for the team to follow her, her gaze locked on a large, pulsing mass in the center of what used to be the town square. It was the size of a small house. A writhing blob of crimson that seemed to pulse with malevolent intent. "That's gotta be it," she murmured, her hand tightening on the flamethrower's trigger. The team approached cautiously, the vines retreating before them. They could feel the pull of the organism, a strange, almost magnetic force drawing them in. Castillo felt a bead of sweat roll down her back as she gave the final order, "Fire at will." The flamethrowers roared to life, sending sheets of fire towards the pulsing mass. The vines shrieked, recoiling from the heat, and for a moment it seemed like they had the upper hand, but then the mass began to expand, the vines stretching out towards them like the arms of an angry giant. Castillo's heart skipped a beat as she realized the creature was not just resisting, but also charging. The vines grew thicker, faster, wrapping around their legs, their arms, their necks. The team fought back with everything they had, their flamethrowers a dance of fiery death, but for every inch they gained, the Kudzu took back a yard. It was a battle of attrition, and the alien was winning. In the chaos, Dr. Kravich found a pocket of relative calm, her mind racing. This wasn't just a plant, it was a living, thinking being, and if they wanted to destroy it, they had to understand it. Captain, she called out, her voice strained, we need to find a way to communicate. Castillo's eyes met hers, the doubt clear in the biologist's eyes. We don't have time for that, she yelled back. But Kravich was already reaching into her pack, pulling out a device that looked like a cross between a sonar and a radio. We might not, she said, setting it down and flipping switches, but we might not have a choice. The device began to emit a series of low, rhythmic beeps. The vines paused, their growth stuttering. For a split second, and in that moment, a glimmer of hope flickered in the doctor's eyes. The vines retreated slightly, and the team took the opportunity to regroup, panting heavily. The air was thick with the smell of burning flesh and plants. The device continued to beep, and slowly the vines started to pull away from them, moving back towards the central mass. Like a retreating tide. What the hell did you do? Castillo asked, her voice filled with a mix of awe and fear. Kravich's voice was shaky. I don't know, it's some kind of frequency. It's like it's talking to us. The creature grew still, the beeps now the only sound in the once silent town. The team watched, their weapons ready, as the pulsing mass in the center of the square began to shrink. The vines receded into it, forming a tight ball, and then, without warning, it shot into the sky. They watched in stunned silence as the alien retreated into the atmosphere, leaving behind a scorched earth and a newfound respect for the unknown. Well, Castillo said finally, lowering her flamethrower, that was unexpected. The team gathered around her, their eyes still on the disappearing speck in the sky. They'd won, but at what cost? The town was gone, and with it, any semblance of normalcy they had left.